What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over some very unpopular opinions. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down 7.04%, 13.14 the low, so a new 52-week and all-time low was just hit, and then 14.09 the high, 5.02 million shares being traded, 9.4 is the average. Nothing coming out on a macro standpoint. We do have a couple of Fed speakers later in the afternoon, but of course that's not really going to influence the kind of Lucid or the broader market. A lot of the market is kind of selling off, but of course, if we kind of look at Tesla, it is up 2.8%. Rivian is pretty much flat. A lot of volatility, but for the most part, it is flat. So for those individuals out there saying, hey, you know what, the market's selling off, this appears to be more of a specific Lucid problem. And we did get a couple analyst ratings that was just posted. So you had two $17 price targets, one by Stifel, other one by Mizuho. Stifel has a 47% success rating. So not all that great, of course. And so that's roughly $1.70 pre-reverse stock split. And as I've stated time and time again, whoever from Lucid announced that they should do the reverse stock split to incentivize institutions to buy needs to be fired, because if we kind of just do the basic math, it does signal that institutions are selling today. And so it's not necessarily the best. And I see some posts online saying that this is all manipulation. At the time of doing this video, shorts are increasing about 82,000 shares. So they're not doing all that much. And as I showed you, about 5 million shares being traded, give or take. And so this 82,000 is not going to do anything. So it is, again, fair to assume that institutions are selling. 28.82% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 41.5 million shares overall are being shorted. These are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool above $100,000. So given the fact that shorts are increasing about 82 whatever thousand shares, most of this is hedge funds selling. So the whole mentality about, hey, let's do a reverse stock split, get a penny stock status, and then we'll have a boatload of institutions buying, that was just a fugazi. That was just completely a illusion from management, in my opinion. Again, unpopular opinion. And that's a lot of my videos. I actually bring up exactly why Lucid is going down. I think there's just way too many echo chambers, especially on Twitter. A lot of people pump Lucid, but yet they know pretty much absolutely nothing. I think the common things that they always like to say is, hey, like, buy Lucid, it's a long-term mentality and all that. And then another common one is, hey, we have the PIF supporting Lucid. And this is something I do really want to bring up, is that Lucid is getting supported by the PIF, but they do not have shareholders' interest. There's a big difference. So you have to distinguish what the PIF's goal is. They care that Lucid stays afloat and eventually hits profitability. They do not care about you. They do not care about BlackRock. They do not care about other institutions or retail at all. They care that they eventually will make money. Anyone saying that is lying, 100% lying. And the most recent note that did come out is a very, very telltale sign that the PIF is getting fed up with Lucid. And I've kind of covered many things in the past. I think them even doing that preferred Class A common stock was their poison pill. I've done a lot of videos on this, especially in the past. It's been a while, but for those of you that are new to Lucid, this is the conversion rate of the preferred stock. So ultimately, it does mean that the lower the stock price, more shares are issued. So this is extremely damaging. No different than any other convertible product, such as notes. And I get it that Lucid has a lot of different notes, and this is the PIF kind of helping, but one thing that helps shareholders avoid excessive dilution is something called a capped call. And Lucid just did a note recently, and it was at as I highlighted, 7% rate. So this is very telling. So in case you, again, haven't really paid attention to Lucid in the past, their first note was a 1.25%, and that was due 2026, September 2026. They're trying their best to pay it off, which doesn't make sense. Why you would try and pay off a 1.25% when you're doing it with a 7%. So this is, once again, shows the mentality of Lucid. Just their management is completely full of idiots. And I don't know, even maybe coming from a personal standpoint, some of you, even just saying it out loud, why would you pay off something that's 1.25% with a 7? It just is the dumbest thing. But anyways, the fact that it's 7% as well does signal that the PIF is getting very fed up with Lucid. And so anyone, again, saying otherwise is lying. But one thing that I did a video when this first came out, I said, hey, this is going to be a very big deal. And that is if Lucid actually pays the premium for a capped call. Essentially, it's like a common call option, prevents excessive dilution. And they didn't get it. That most likely is the attributing factor why Lucid is going down. And so, because that's the only recent event, is this note. And most likely institutions were waiting just to see if Lucid was going to do that capped call, and they didn't. They did it on the second one that's due for 2030, so their second note. This one they did not. So you also have to think about it. Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they get the capped call to protect excessive dilution? The reason being is the PIF is going to be the recipient of all of this dilution. So you have the actual preferred stock, which again, all the conversions of the shares are going to go towards the PIF. You have all of this, which is a 7% rate that the PIF benefits. You have them not getting a capped call, which protects shareholders. So a lot of you, BlackRock and whoever else, it protects them from excessive dilution, but the recipient is the PIF. So I think at the end of the day, the only one that is going to stand to benefit, even though they're losing a crap ton of money right now, is the PIF. So anyone posting saying, hey, you know what, we're lucky to have the PIF, they're laughing. They're kind of a modern day type of loan shark. So definitely do your own due diligence at the end of the day, because I think right now Lucid is on a little bit more of a scary downtrend right now. So let me know your thoughts on that. Again, a lot of this is very unpopular opinion, and that's generally what I like to do. I like to rationalize why Lucid is going down or potentially even going higher, right? I kind of rationalize either direction, what the market is thinking. I'm not here to pump you up. I'm not here to bring you down. I don't really care about that. All I'm doing is just breaking it down on exactly what is happening. If you want to be pumped up, go to Twitter. There's more than enough people that are doing that. Most of them actually have me blocked, which is kind of comical because I tend to call people out, and people don't like that. I think that's one thing that Lucid investors have, is they just want to go like this and not listen to any negatives. But whatever, it is what it is. Some people are meant to make a lot of money, and some people just want to do this. So in general, like I said, don't be so up and down and excited that the PIF is kind of supporting Lucid. They're going to be the ones that massively benefit. Aside from that, though, looking at the options, 695,000 in calls, 2.1 in puts, and then 48% of all the options being done are neutral in nature. And as I've mentioned in the past, the reason why it's neutral is the fact that it's big institutions that are eating up the bid and the ask, but most likely it is relatively bearish. Looking on the secondary market, this again does prove that institutions are selling. So you have one buy right here at 938. It was for 224, but everything else is a sell, and that's been a very, very common scenario ultimately with Lucid. So it's not that great. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be between that 14 to 1450. So still, even the bulls are not anticipating any upside. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 11 this week, which is rather crazy. And for those of you that tuned into a lot of my videos, I've mentioned that I do have a $10 put that I did sell. And I'm actually even thinking about closing that up, because yeah, even if it, like, I don't know, things are getting very, very bad for Lucid. And plus, on the side note, on a larger scale, there's just a lot of fear in the market, and a lot of which is linked to consumers. So I think just overall, consumers are not really buying Lucid's type of product. So it's a very just bad scenario. So let me know your viewpoint on all of that. Like I said, unpopular opinion, so don't listen to me if you don't want to. Won't be hurt by that. But 13.17 with it right now there. It is trading between this S2 and this S3. So 12.34 is going to be potentially that next strong support. Then 15.32 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Aside from that, on the actual chart, this is kind of crazy. It is essentially a falling knife. Anyone saying that this is we're going to see a god candle tomorrow and all that, I know I've called these types of people out, and they're just, I don't know. It's kind of funny though, right? Because I've actually looked at some people who say this, and they are realtors. They are other things. So I don't really think that they're fully kind of experienced enough to really kind of call out, hey, saying we're going to have a god candle. But people love it, right? That's what people want. People want to be optimistic. And this is, I think, one problem with a lot of my YouTube channels is I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whereas a lot of people can easily just say, hey, you know what? Buy Lucid now. It's going to go to $20 next week. Buy now, buy now, buy now. And they get a million views, which is comical. But nonetheless, I think right now, this is a little bit more of a falling knife, and you don't see any willing buyers from the market position. Even though Lucid is considered very oversold, they need to put out news. Like Lucid won't really just have a breakout unless they put out some concrete news. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. I know I did kind of unpack quite a lot in this video, and my apologies on the length of it, but I think just a lot of these hot topics do truly need to be brought up. And like I said, unpopular opinion. So if you don't believe me, then have at it. I'm not, again, won't be hurt by all of that. Let me know your thoughts. And then one final thing though, if you are looking for some solid buy signals, despite everything that's happening in the broader market, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, many of which have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. Link in the description below and also in the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.